Okay, good morning and welcome to Geometric Mean Part 1. This is really something that we're going to be spending a great deal of time on because it's a little bit complicated. So one of the things that I want you to do before you get started on this video is to make sure that you have 4 different highlighter colors. So pause the video and get your highlighter colors because it's really important to color code this lesson. Our vocabulary here is geometric mean. Geometric mean means that there are 2 positive numbers, A and B, and there's a positive number so that this happens. Whoa, sorry about that. So that this happens right here. That's geometric mean. And it will become more clear once we go on and explain it a little bit. One of the things that you should notice is that the altitude of a right triangle, right here, cuts the triangles into 3 similar triangles. So we have the altitude cuts this big triangle into this triangle and this triangle. So basically, we have 3 similar triangles. We have the green one, the blue one, and the pink one. Those are all similar triangles. So now we've got some theorems that go along with that, some corollaries and theorems. Okay, this first theorem tells you that, the first theorem tells you that it cuts those triangles into similar triangles. The largest similar to the small one, the largest similar to the medium one, and the small is similar to the medium one. So now, moving forward, now we're going to be looking at the corollary that goes along with that. So it says here that the altitude of the triangle is going to give us some proportions. By proportions, I mean the ratios like we've been doing. Okay, so the altitude of this triangle will be a part of this proportion. It's this right here. And those proportions will be the short leg, the short part of the hypotenuse, and the long leg. The long leg. So when I'm writing the proportion, I'm going to put my altitude on this part of the proportion. Okay? Here's another one though. So now we have a couple of other proportions. So if I have information on the short leg of this big triangle, that short leg is going to go here. And then the short part of the hypotenuse over the whole hypotenuse. So the short part of the hypotenuse and the whole hypotenuse. And actually, I'm going to do it down below here. So the short leg, this is the short leg. And this is the short part of the hypotenuse. And this is the whole hypotenuse. Here we've got the long leg of the hypotenuse, the longer leg of the hypotenuse, which is, no, the longer leg of the triangle, rather. The long leg of the triangle. And then we're going to do the long part of the hypotenuse, this part, and we're going to use the whole hypotenuse. This part. Now that looks really confusing until you start putting it in place. So let's actually get some numbers here. First of all, we're going to define the geometric mean of 3 and 12. Well, if you look back up to this right here, we're going to be using something like this. We're going to use x, and we're going to use a and b, 3 and 12. So the geometric mean of 3 and 12, my x always goes here and here. Just like we have in the proportions that I set up. And now we're going to use 3 and 12. So 3 goes here and 12 goes here. Now we're just going to do the cross multiplication. So I'm going to end up with x squared equals 36. Well, x squared equals 36, that means we have to take the square root of both of these. So x equals 6. That's the geometric mean of 3 and 12. So now we look at this one. We say, okay, the geometric mean. Again, when I have geometric mean, I have this, and then two numbers. So right now I know that I don't know what the geometric mean is, so I'm going to put it right here, x, and 4, and 12. So now we end up with x squared equals 48. And we take the square root, so x equals roughly 6.9 relative to the nearest tenth. Again, geometric mean of 7 and 56. 7 and 56, and this is going to be x. So I end up with x squared equals 392. Take the square root, x equals 19.8. Okay. So now we've got the geometric mean down. Now we're going to actually apply it to a triangle. Now, when you go back up to the corollaries, this is the one with the altitude. The altitude. So the altitude is this one. And remember the pattern. The pattern is the short and the long. Okay. So let's set up this problem. We end up with, we have to have x. Well, x happens to be the altitude. So we're going to put in here x and x. All right. Next, we're going to use the short leg, the short side of the hypotenuse, this red one right here. So we're going to use 3. And then the 15 goes right here. So then, when we cross multiply, we end up with x squared equals 45. Square root, x equals about 6.7 rounded to the nearest tenth. All right. Here's another altitude problem, but we have a number at x, on the altitude. So we have the altitude, the short side of the hypotenuse, and the long side of the hypotenuse. Okay, so when we set this up, okay, now we have a number on the altitude. We've got this 8, so I'm going to put 8 here. That's the pattern. And now, instead of a number on the top, we've got x, because it's the short side of the hypotenuse. 16 is the long side of the hypotenuse. So now when we cross multiply, we get 16x equals 64 divided by 16. X equals 4. So you would be able to plug that back in over here and say, yep, that's 4. So now we're using the legs. This is a little bit different. We're not using the altitude anymore. So what we are doing is we are saying that we are using the short leg of the triangle. This is the shorter leg of the triangle. And then we're going to use the short side of the hypotenuse and the whole hypotenuse. Okay, so when I'm setting this up again, got this and this. Okay, so now if I look at my colors, I know that X is going to go where the yellow is. X and X. And now it's the short leg of the short side of the hypotenuse, which is 4, and the whole hypotenuse, which is 20. So to solve, again, x squared equals 80, and x equals about 8.9. Next one. Now, on this triangle, we happen to have the information on the long leg of the big triangle. So we're going to look at this then. And then we have the long side of the hypotenuse, and then we want the whole thing. Well, the whole thing, wow, it's not 18, you know, so what we have to do is we have to do some addition here. 7 plus 18 equals 25. So this is going to be 25. All right, so let's set it up. Okay. I've got my yellow is the X. And then I've got the long side of the hypotenuse, which is 18. And then the whole hypotenuse, which is 25. So that's going to work out to x squared. Whoops, I don't want to do that. X squared equals 450. So I square root this. I get x equals about 21.2. Okay, again, we have x on the long leg of the triangle. X is here. And the pattern tells us that we have to use the long side of the hypotenuse over the whole hypotenuse. The whole thing. Well, what the heck? I don't have that green one. Do you see that? I've got the whole thing, and I've got the short leg. So what do I have to do? In order to figure out the green, this one right here, I have to take the whole minus 2, and that's going to give me 10. So this right here is 10. All right, so now I can set it up. Remember, the yellow goes in this position, and then I can set it up with, let's see, this is x, and this is x. And then I need the long part of the hypotenuse, and I need the whole hypotenuse, which happens to be 12. We got that already. All right, so to solve, x squared equals 120, square root know that it's 10.954, da, 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 da. Okay, so this is closest, because I'm gonna round this up, I'm gonna round this up. So that means, that's why it's 11.0. Last one. Now we have information on the short leg. So if you follow the pattern, the short leg, then we use the short side of the hypotenuse and the whole hypotenuse. Now this one is the trickiest of all. We're going to end up having to factor. So take a look at this. Let's set it up. Okay, so I'm going to use 6. That's the short leg of the triangle. Now, I have to have the short side of the hypotenuse, which is x. And I need the whole hypotenuse, which is, look at that, it's x plus 5. That doesn't look good, guys. All right, well, let's figure this out. We'll get it. Okay. So now I've got x times x plus 5 equals 36. Okay. So now I have to distribute. End up with x squared plus 5x equals 36. This tells me it's a quadratic, so that means I have to do it factoring. So that means I have to set it equal to 0. So I'm going to take 36 away from both sides of the equation, and I end up with x squared plus 5x minus 36 equals 0. All right, well, this might hurt your brain a little bit. That's okay, you'll get over it. X goes here, x goes here. We have to multiply to negative 36, sum to positive 5. Now there's lots of factors of 36, but I know that 9 and 4 are going to work. I've got a positive 9. I don't want to do that. Positive 9 and negative 4. So then when we solve, we get x plus 9 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0, x equals negative 9, or x equals 4. Which one is correct? This one can't be. We can't have a negative length, so it's got to be 4. So this one would be 4. All right. So I think that's it for today. So if you have any questions, please bring them tomorrow. And have a great night, and we'll see you soon. Bye now.